Hello, Vinyl Brethren. Welcome back to the Vinyl Brotherhood, where we like to kick back, take it easy, and just chat about music, whether it be the latest and greatest new releases or old favorites from years gone by. Josh Homme and friends are back, and we are super excited to discuss their latest album with you. So relax, get comfortable, and we'll get started here momentarily. Thanks for joining us yet again for another music review. Today's selection is the latest from the legendary rock band Queens of the Stone Age, titled End Times New Roman. It's their first studio album release since Villains all the way back in 2017. Nice to have them back, obviously. They are a veteran act at this point with a devoted following and have sort of settled into that veteran status release schedule where you can just make an album once a decade or whenever you feel like it and just tour the hits. But nonetheless, it's cool to have them with us again. There is a distinct quality to the Queens of the Stone Age sound that keeps me coming back, like I have an itch that only they can scratch. No one does rock and roll quite the same way that they do, and their impressive discography is a testament to that. So today's big question is, does End Times New Roman live up to that great legacy that they've created over the years? That's what we're gonna figure out today. So first things first, we're gonna take this LP over to the record player and give it a quick spin. Here's our album artwork, End Times New Roman by Queens of the Stone Age. Honestly, probably not my favorite. It's just like, it's not necessarily, it's not borderline generic, but it's definitely flirting with just like a generic hard rock album cover. And it's also a little too spooky for me. Just kind of, you know, just screams, this is a hard rock album. But it's, I mean, the font is cool. Yeah, it's not. This font here is not Times New Roman, I can tell you that much. But yeah, let's move right along. End Times New Roman is the 8th album by Queens of the Stone Age, with the Villains lineup all returning. Troy Van Leeuwen, Dean Fertitta, Michael Schumann, John Theodore, and of course Josh Homme, Mr. Rock and Roll personified. For better or worse, the man has been living fast for decades, but I'm glad he's still around doing this thing at 50 years. He's had a rough few years, and those life experiences undoubtedly played a role in the conception of these 10 new songs. While Josh is the sole consistent member of Queens, his whole band is made up of industry veterans, with members having made their names with countless other well-known acts such as Bright Eyes, the Raconteurs, Mini Mansions, and Mars Volta, and so on. They've scaled back a bit from the more elegantly produced Villains to return to what they were doing on albums like Era Vulgaris and Lullabies to Paralyze. This band has something of their own music production philosophy. I wouldn't say that their output is underproduced per se, but rather refreshingly unproduced. They've pulled back on the synths and the polish this time around in favor of for more texture, more grit, more depth, like you're sitting right there in the recording studio. You can even hear the light buzzing of the amps on occasion. And the lack of embellishment, however, it doesn't mean that these recordings are shabby or sloppy in any way. This band plays super tight, which is, you know, you should come to expect from pros such as themselves. For sure, they're here to make a big impression. Josh Homme is an extremely consistent lyricist, and on this record, the words are decidedly more in your face. The opening track of Scenery is just killer one-liner after killer one-liner. As clever and provocative as ever, I, a self-described non-lyrics guy, had to pull up the lyrics multiple times throughout my listen to make sure I wasn't mishearing things. The guitar riffs also feel a little bigger. It could be due to those production choices I already mentioned, but they also seem to be written to be that way. Those guitars sound as dense and jagged as they did back in the Era Vulgaris era, to my delight. The riffs lean into an off-kilter, slightly psychedelic profile, pushing and pulling you along with the chord changes that sound deceptively simple and surprisingly natural. Queens of the Stone Age sounds super at home with these new songs, so much so that the performances sound as second nature as driving a car. And yet they're not just going through the motions. Josh's vocal performances on Sicily and Straight Jacket Fitting are nothing short of inspired. And they sprinkle in several surprises along the way in an effort to subvert our expectations, sometimes subtly and sometimes in a more obvious way, like in Obscenery, where the band drops out, making way for a whole string section to mesmerize us for a couple of bars. Many would agree that the latter half of In Times New Roman is the stronger one. Obscenery is a strong start to the album, but it didn't really pick up for me until about a quarter of the way in, and from that point on, the momentum never really truly dies down. Songs like Time and Place and Emotion Sickness are exactly the kind of groovy, riff-oriented jams that I'm eagerly awaiting going into a Queens of the Stone Age album. It never ceases to amaze me how these dudes can build an incredible arrangement around a total, like a non-riff, that is a guitar lick that isn't much when isolated. Their songs Leg of Lamb and I'm Designer come to mind, and Time and Place sort of functions the same way. Made to Parade and Carnivore do the best job of reintroducing some of Queens of the Stone Age's weirder, whimsical side that fans have come to expect. The kooky organ tone, the boisterous guitar work, those are all classic Queens of the Stone Age trademarks. And I really appreciate how the instruments max out the mics at the end of Carnivore, letting us indulge in that harsh distortion for a moment. After the Villains album, it's nice to see them open to breaking the rules again. Sicily is yet another standout track on this album. It sounds notably darker, heavier, and just weightier than the several tracks that led us here. They bring back the orchestral element for this musical house of mirrors. And as the lyric serves as an exploration of the high highs and the low lows of being in love, the music pairs perfectly with the devastating weight of its arrangement and dragging tempo. And as great as Sicily is, the band completely outdoes it in every respect with the grand finale Straight Jacket Fitting. Just about all of your favorite things from the 9 tracks that came before are included here. The bluesy riffage, the crushing drone, the dreamlike layered vocals, and languid drums all contribute to feels like an essential and characteristically Queens listening experience. And just like that, In Times New Roman comes to a close, ending on an exhilarating note. It was a fun 10 tracks. And something I've really come to appreciate about their work is that they do a great job of giving every single one of their songs a distinct face, if you will, be it through a standout riff or a groove or aesthetic treatment of some sort. And there's no substitute for the signature Josh Homme guitar tone, which is like the hot sauce on a smoky, already delicious taco. So I didn't immediately treasure these songs the way I have some timeless Queens of the Stone Age classics like The Blood is Love, Leg of Lamb, or Turning on the Screw. And that could change with time, but right now I'm really appreciating this album as a whole expression. Some may see this as a return to form, which may not be accurate, as I don't think there's ever really been a bad or mediocre Queens album, but it most certainly is a return to the gritty, raw, and reckless way of the 2000s era Queens. I personally am thrilled by the prospect of more along these lines, but it's usually at this point that one might hope that there is still plenty of fresh, new territory for these guys to explore. At least for now, it's still exciting, the band still sounds into it, and I think most of us are happy campers. Considering Josh Homme's recent turmoil, it's no surprise that this album may have that extra injection of passion. There are moments of anger, grief, and tension that we as listeners can easily observe and possibly empathize with. Producer Ian and I often half joke about how it seems only sad people can really write good music that's easy to connect with, and I don't think that's always true, but I have noticed a pattern, but I digress. In Times New Roman is really a great listen. If you like rock and roll at all, don't hesitate for even a moment. It's another solid outing for Queens of the Stone Age, and I think it's just what my summer of 2023 needed. It's about time for me to send you all on your merry way, so I'm gonna grab this LP here and we'll head back for some final thoughts. There are many great bands out there today, but when I listen to Queens of the Stone Age, I catch myself thinking, these guys get rock and roll. They understand what it needs to be. They know what a rock album should aim to accomplish. why can't more bands be like Queens? And sure enough, In Times New Roman demonstrates that Queens of the Stone Age haven't lost that passion a quarter of a century in. Like I said, this album's not going for the Grand Slam. This isn't their masterpiece, and it's not trying to be, but it's nothing if not another accomplished century from a highly respected rock act. If you're looking for the feel-good hit of the summer, Queens of the Stone Age have got you covered. I'm scoring In Times New Roman an 8 out of 10 today. And now we wait at least another half decade for the next album from these dudes, but at least we have this one to hold us over for the time being. So to wrap up, I'd like to turn the conversation to you, our wonderful viewing audience. Hit up that comment section and let us know what you thought of the new Queens of the Stone Age album. I can't wait to read all the feedback, and please click on the like and subscribe buttons while you're at it. We'd love to have you as an official vinyl brother or vinyl sister. So I guess that's all for today. Thanks for watching. You all have been absolutely amazing. We appreciate every last one of you. Have a good one, and we'll see you again very soon right here at the Vinyl Brotherhood.